that, I have this little quote: "Flowers are the music of the ground, from earth's lips spoken without sound." So this is a celebration of wildflowers and domestic flowers as well. So we're going to start with the basic principles of flower photography. It doesn't really require a lot of special equipment, but the main thing is to know your camera. And I'll be talking about different cameras. You should have one that at least has aperture priority and ideally manual to control the camera rather than the camera controlling you. As with all photography, you need to look for good lighting, but you can make your own if necessary. Number 3, make sure everything is in focus and the focal point, the main subject of the image, is clear to the viewer. Depth of field is all important in flower photography. As with a human model, pick the best specimen, pick a really good flower. Don't just pick any one that you run across. Pay close attention to backgrounds and borders. These are all basic photographic principles. Try different angles and compositions. With flower photography, you're going to be out in nature for the most part, and wind is your enemy. So I generally have people suggest that we go out in the morning. We usually get a lot of westerlies coming up in the afternoon. Leave no trace. And like Chuck Place says, by all means, have fun. In terms of the details, the equipment can range from a cell phone. Let's see if you can see this now. Here's my cell phone. Does that show up? Maybe not. So a cell phone at about 7 ounces, a pocket camera at about twice that, 14 ounces, or a big, heavy DSLR at about 4 pounds. So what I'm going to be talking about is how to take pictures with these 3 different cameras and what kind of results you get. The lighting, I know Bob Rottenberg gave a program night, educational night on portrait photography, and he had his granddaughter on a overcast day. Came out beautifully. Overcast day acts as a giant softbox, so the same principle holds for flowers. Overcast day works really well. We have a lot of overcast days, especially as we approach May and June. So that's perfect lighting. But the nice thing about flower photography is that you can photograph on a sunlit day during noon as long as you use diffusers and reflectors. So this is a version of a diffuser. Can you see this? I can't know whether you see this or not. So this is a
Ron, all we're seeing is the page with your notes. We're not seeing anything else.
Oh, okay.
So Ron, temporarily, why don't you click the stop sharing button?
Okay.
I can see Ron just fine. He's in a group of thumbnails off to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can see what he was showing in that window.
Showing the diffuser. I guess it doesn't really show that well anyway.
Gotcha. I wasn't in speaker view. Okay.
Was it showing before?
Yes, you were showing before.
Okay. So share screen.
I think some were seeing it if they were in the another view. It was not showing. But
well, anyway, it's not that important. It's just a diffuser, and it blocks the sunlight. And then a reflector does the opposite. It directs the sunlight towards the flower. And so those are the things that allow you to take flower pictures even under non-optimal conditions. But for the most part, I just go out without all that equipment and find the right lighting, either a little bit of shade or backlighting or whatever. So that's lighting. In terms of focus is really difficult if you do macro photography because you get up really close and you've got to be very precise, and you have to contend with depth of field. Depth of field is all important. So depth of field is smaller when you're closer to the subject, as you will be with flower photography. You get a smaller depth of field, as we know, with large apertures and longer focal lengths. That's when the depth of field is smaller. So keep that in mind. And as I indicated earlier, try to find the flower that's as perfect as you can find. And then backgrounds, as usual, are really important. And you get a lot of interesting, unusual, busy backgrounds when you're out in nature, because there's grass and sticks and leaves and all these things that clutter up the background. So that's one of your challenges, to find a really nice background. But if you want to use a shallow depth of field, you can blur that out. So these are some of the trade-offs you have to work with. The basic composition principles apply, rule of thirds, harmony, and balance. And as I indicated earlier, you'll get motion blur from the wind. And so you have to use high shutter speeds. And with that, you may have to increase your ISO. So there's a trade-off there. And I say be kind to Mother Nature, leave no trace, but I'll have to admit that sometimes I have to do what I call gardening, because you will have clutter around. You have to remove some leaves. You may have some tall blades of grass that provide linear backgrounds that you don't want to have. So as long as you're picking weeds and just ordinary grass, that's okay. Just be careful when you're crawling around on the ground not to mess up other flowers. And so my main motivation for flower photography is to be out and enjoy the natural world and to take back some memories of what I experienced. So any questions at this point? Pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is show you some examples using 3 different cameras: the cell phone, pocket camera, and the DSLR. So let's go up here. Can everyone see this? Anyone? Okay. So I'm going to open these up, go through them, kind of like previewing in our exhibition night, and just go through these one after the other. Poppies. This is a backyard flower, Jerusalem sage. Agapanthus. And iris is coming out. Neat thing about irises, by the way, is I was out a few days ago making these examples, and I took a little while to go from one camera to the next. And when I went back, the flower was totally different. They really bloom fast. Within a few minutes, the iris will change position. And they're blooming right now.
Hey, Ron?
Yeah.
Couple of things. When you're scrolling through the pictures, let's hold on them a little long. The refresh rate is causing it to go by pretty quickly. And then I also see that Walter has his hand up. I don't know if that's for him looking for a question or.
Yes. Are the 3 pictures by the 3 different cameras?
Correct. So I'll go back.
In what order?
Well, that's the mystery. I want you to guess. So we're going to go through again. I'll go slower. And so camera 1, camera 2. Is that showing okay, Bill?
Yes, that's better. And so as a reminder, the 3 cameras that you're talking about are a cell phone and a crop sensor, smaller, a point and shoot camera, and a full frame DSLR. Is that right?
Right. But the point and shoot has many of the features of the DSLR. It has manual settings, and it essentially replicates the DSLR, but costs about 1/10 as much. So is this about the right speed?
Yeah, it's better. We just yes, it's good.
Okay, so now I'm going to pick one flower, and Bill and I were going to try to see if this works. When I show a flower, I'd like to have you vote. I'm going to go just this one Jerusalem sage. I'm going to go through them again one more time. And as we go back, starting with number 1, how many of you like number 1 better than number 2 or 3? And can we do a vote on this with the?
We can have folks push the green yes for if they like this one best, or an X for no on the participants screen. And down at the bottom of the participants, you can click the yes or no, and it should give us a count.
Can we see them again, please?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
well,
seeing.
You want to go through all 3? Or, okay, I'll go through all 3 again. Okay.
What's number 2?
Yep. Number 3. Now I'm going to go back to number 1 and we'll vote. How many like number 1? Don't vote twice.
Okay, right now we're showing 7 yeses or 7 no's and 3 yeses.
Okay.
It's
Number
up
2.
to 9, 10, 11, 10, 11, 9, and 6.
I'll stay over there. Okay, still voting on this one.
Okay, so we're on number 1. And it looks like that's got a strong no. It's 15 to 6 for no.
Okay. Number 2.
Make sure that if you haven't voted, you turn off your last vote, or it will leave it what it was. Okay, on this one for number two, we're seeing just a reversal. It's like 15, 16 to 4.
Voting completed?
Okay, let's move on to the third one. Okay, another okay, somehow I think they cleared. Okay, so we're at about a 7 to 1 on this one as being a favorite for folks.
So number 2 was the winner?
Yes, number 2 was the winner, I think.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back through them. And this time, let's see here. Need to move this over. Reveal the camera down here. This one here. Everyone see that?
So this was number 1.
Yeah, it's number 1. Can everyone see the sidebar?
I can see it.
It says Nikon D850.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, so this is a DSLR. It was taken with a 300 millimeter lens. So that's how I got the really soft background. But it's not in focus everywhere because very shallow depth of field. Now, when I do DSLR pictures, I generally take all the equipment, the tripod, the diffuser, reflectors, and I would be able to get better depth of field by using the tripod. This was just handheld. And so, but it shows how you get a nice soft background using the long focal length and the DSLR. But it's obviously not very in focus for a lot of the pedals. Well, this is a favorite. This is a cell phone, Samsung Galaxy 10e, S10e, which is the cheapest Samsung phone made at the present time. So there it is. Don't need all the expensive equipment to get a good result. And the last one is the pocket camera. And actually, I kind of like this one myself. I think it's kind of in between. To me, this background here is a little too busy, a little too distracting. Although the flower itself is perfectly in focus. But this one is a little softer background. Of course, I haven't done any color adjustments and things here, so you could optimize them. for me, I like the pocket camera the best because it's so much easier to operate, and I get uh, uh, better results overall by using the pocket camera than I do the cell phone. Cell phone is really tricky. Now, on cell phones, what I've used here is something called live focus. And that did blur out the background. And I'm going to go to some of the other ones and show you what it can do. Like right here. Here's a cell phone picture of the agapanthus, and the background is fairly blurred. And I think iPhone, this mode is called portrait mode. It's meant for, for portraits to blur out the background, but you can use it for wildflowers. So if you use this, it turns out, cell phones have so much computing power these days that they can do all these magical things. So except for, I feel it's tricky to use a cell phone for flowers because just holding it down there close, and you have to get very close and hold it steady, and then pushing the little screen is a lot harder for me than using a pocket camera that has a nice little shutter button on it.
I have a question.
Someone raised their hand. Spencer Dean raised his hand.
See, we got Pat Birdsell first, Pat, and then Spencer.
That Spencer was an accident. I'm lost in here somewhere. Don't worry about it.
Okay, we lowered your hand for you.
This is
Thank
Pat.
you.
I'm not unvideoed because I'm eating my dinner, but I was going to ask about on the iPhone for the square version. I thought that also blurred the background like a macro. Is that not the case?
That's not the case.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just chime in for a minute?
Sure.
I think the problem with number one, which I think is the best, is that nothing is in focus because there's camera motion.
Yeah, that's true. And remember I said it was handheld? That's why I said if I were to have a tripod and the diffuser and deflector, this would probably be the best one. But I wasn't trying to do apples and oranges as much. I wanted to use them all the same way, handheld and so on. So it's not a fair comparison, but I agree 100%, Bob. I'm going to show you later what a DSLR can do when it has a tripod and a diffuser and reflector, because those results are really superior to everything else. But you're carrying about 20 times as much weight, and I've spent up in the Sierra Nevada, I spent a whole day in an area about the size of a barn, square footage, taking pictures. So it takes a lot of time. Sometimes it takes upwards to an hour to get a picture of one flower. So that's totally different than going on a hike and trying to come back with a collection of the memories that you want to keep with you. So they're just different types of photography. So I think that's really a good point, Bob. Thank you very much for making that. Any other comments? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is go back to the see if I can get the here. So back, can you see the PDF file okay now?
Ron, sorry, can I ask one quick question? This is Chuck.
Yeah.
Can you talk about focus stacking? Or is
Yeah.
that important for what you were just showing with those images?
Yeah, focus stacking is something that's hard to do in nature because there's so much movement to the subject. The focus stacking really works when you've got more of a studio setting. So it's nothing I've really tried in nature. I think it would be really difficult to do that.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so we're back to this. So we did this first one, the 3 different cameras. And now then I'm going to show you the results using a, that's my ring going off, security camera. So I'm going to go here to a current album that I've taken the last 3 weeks, and I call it Wildflowers during the time of COVID-19. And I'm going to go through these, about 60 or 66 of these, so I won't spend a lot of time on them. But about I won't say how far through, but a ways through this, I'm going to be switching from the cell phone to the pocket camera. The first hike I did, I hadn't expected to see so many flowers, and all I had was my cell phone. So that's the best camera when you have it with you. So these are, let's see, let's do I do a view full screen. Okay, how's that? Everyone see that? Okay, so this is blue-eyed grass, 2 different flowers. I was surprised at the Mariposa lilies this year. There are literally hundreds of them on one of those trails. They've kind of become rare. I was once out hiking in the Paradise Road area, and I saw this father and his little girl, and she was picking these Mariposa lilies like a bouquet. They're kind of almost an endangered flower, and I haven't seen them up there that much since. But this place, I went on this hike. It's quite a ways out of the ordinary, and there are a lot of them up there. So, you know, composition, here you go, 3 different compositions. This is just called bindweed. It's kind of like a morning glory. I'm not sure of the name of this plant. Lupin, paintbrush, thistles, even though they're a weed, they make a nice shot. This is hummingbird sage. This is unusual. I was quite a ways from the trailhead, and I don't know what this flower is in the foreground. It doesn't look wild to me, but how on earth it got way up in semi-wilderness is beyond me. It's a California sunflower, or I'm sorry. I have a mental block on that one. Not sunflower, buttercup, California buttercup. That's California sunflower, or hummingbird sage. And we're having a bumper crop of toyon berries. If you drive towards Lake Kachuma, there's some along the right-hand side that are just loaded with these berries. I've never seen so many. It's a spectacular plant this year. The little unknown small flower, I have it identified. Actually, I guess I could probably go up here and do the eye. Let's see. Oh, you can see over here. So I think it might be a stitchwort. Can everyone see that ID up there? It's a stitchwort. Can you see that, Bill?
Ron, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you do any posts on your iPhone?
Yeah, I do, definitely. I've done a little bit of posts on all these. Yeah.
Do you have anything special you use?
It's just Photoshop. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Adobe Camera Raw. You know, Ceanothus. That's a very common plant in the chaparral. And so most of my flowers are portraits, as I mentioned, but sometimes it makes sense to show a sense of place. And so this same plant where you can see the mountain ranges in the background. This is an interesting plant. It's called clematis, and it takes different geometries. I'm not sure whether it's a different species or whether it's different stages of the same plant. You'll see some later versions of that. This is called prickly phlox. Lots of that out there this year. And of course, the shooting stars, they come out early. They're some of the first plants to come out. Right now, the flowers are at their peak, but the shooting stars are past peak. And this is a Fiesta flower. You probably know the story about Fiesta flower. It has these little prickly things on it. So the way it got its name is you can pull one up and put it on your clothing. It sticks to the clothing. Back in colonial times, the senoritas would pick these flowers and put them on their dresses and go to Fiesta with the Fiesta flowers. Blue Dix, it's a funny name for it. And it tends to have long stems and bend around and do these funny things. This is an interesting flower. You don't see it that often. It's called woolly blue curls. And you can see it kind of has a woolly texture to it. Larkspur or delphinium. And these are not too frequent. There's one place I can reliably find those along Paradise Road, but they're pretty unusual to find in Santa Barbara these days. Again, blue-eyed grass. And this is what's called Johnny Jump Up. It's a small little flower, just a little over an inch in diameter. That's what's called a California golden violet. And I had never seen this flower. There's quite a few of these out this year, and not quite sure how to pronounce it. Ashpoldo, tiny little flower again, about 1 inch. And cliff aster. I'm not sure what this is. I think it might be a asylum or alcium. And here again's the clematis. I was telling you how it does all these funny things. And geometrical whirls. And so you want to know what this is? This is castor bean, which is poisonous, although they can make castor oil. And it has different male and female flowers. And I can't say I know the difference, but this year it's unusual bloom. It's a really invasive, nasty weed, actually, but it's flowering in a really pretty way this year. Indian paintbrush, arrowroot or arrowwood, lupin. This is aptly named fiddleneck. It's kind of a weed too. And this is a bush poppy. If you know where Cachuma Saddle is, and if you drive west from Cachuma Saddle up towards Figueroa Mountain, there will be lots of those bordering the road this year. And I'm not sure what this little flower is. This is called Chinese houses, and there's really lots of those this year, more than I've ever seen. Chia, which is a weed, but spice, herb, salvia. And purple nightshade, nightshade family related to potatoes. Again, fiesta flower. And have you guessed by now, I've long since passed the cell phone. I'm now on my pocket camera. Nice blurry background. Azalea. Lupin. And I haven't tried to identify these lupins because there's so many varieties. As Stuart was saying, he even has a harlequin lupin that combines all these varieties one way or another. I'm sure Stuart could identify the varieties. Of course, the perennial poppies. Bumper year for poppies this year. Nightshade, fiesta flower, Chinese houses, fly grass, California buttercup. Again, nice blurred background there. And here, I don't think you could do that well with a cell phone, but perhaps this is shooting these at f2.8. And I don't know the name of the bug or the flower here. Maybe Stuart can help on that. Now this is an unusual plant. There's 3 types of flowers here that have Indian in their name. Indian paintbrush, Indian pink, which is the petals are serrated like pinking shears. And this is a very rare one. I've only found one little colony of it. It's called Indian warrior. It's almost a little bit like a fungus. It stays mainly underground most of the year. And this is waxy checker bloom, but I usually call it mallow when I can't remember the real name. And that's the end of that. So let's go out of here. And we'll go back. Any questions before I go to the next part? I'm almost done. Okay. So the last thing, and you'll have, I won't go through all these, but you'll have this handout. And here, let's see what happened. These are the DSLR with tripod and diffuser reflectors. And I won't try to identify these. I'm just going to go through some, and you can see the DSLR can produce really nice close-up in focus as well as background blurred. So if I had to concentrate on quality, I would definitely use a DSLR. And you can, here I'm really going into the macro mode, getting really close. You cannot have a lot of wind when you do pictures like this. Okay. These are interesting plants here. They're called Clarkia, named after Lewis and Clark. I found lots of these at the Botanic Garden, but they're in the wild as well. And this is an interesting plant, flower. It's called Farewell to Spring. And I haven't found any of these in a number of years, so I don't know where they all went. I haven't seen it all this year. Okay, I'm going to stop now, and I think this is about the right time, Bill, for us to.
I think it's fine. We've got a couple of questions, and we can take some Q&A time. The first one I have is David Austin.
Hi, Ron. Terrific photos. Wonderful. Thank you. I wanted to emphasize your comment about the importance of using manual exposure. I've found that that's absolutely crucial because auto exposure, especially with colors having, flowers having very brilliant color, will usually oversaturate the colors and they'll be out of gamut. And so what I usually do is I look carefully also at the histograms. For example, if looking at a poppy, focus on the red histogram because it's the one that's going to go out of gamut first. And I just wanted to know how you felt about that.
I don't think I'm quite as sophisticated as you are, but I use manual focus almost 100%. Although with my little pocket camera, I can't do that. It's essentially aperture priority. It's really, I should have mentioned this, in these pocket cameras, they have what's called a scene mode, and I'm using the close-up scene mode, and so it does a lot of stuff automatically. But when I do the DSLR, everything is manual focus. So what exactly was your question about the histogram? You actually look at the different colors of the histogram and decide whether it's overexposed in certain.
Yeah, I've found that makes a big difference, especially if you're dealing with very brightly colored flowers. If I don't do that, I find that I'm usually out of gamut. And sometimes you can pull it back in Lightroom or whatever, or Photoshop or whatever raw processor you're using, but not always.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to remember that. I'll try doing that next time. Maybe you can go along with me on one of these shoots. So compare notes. Yeah, the fact is, if we ever get through COVID, we might want to do a field trip next year, next spring, do some wildflower techniques.
That would be great. I have, Sally Berry has a question, and then Walter Nauman.
Yeah, Ron, I have a question for you. What kind of lens are you using? Are you ever using a macro lens?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the DSLR, the ones I showed you, the third set of pictures, those are generally 100 millimeter or 105 millimeter macro lens. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did use a 60 for a while, and I decided that was a little too short for me, so I unfortunately sold that to Stuart Wilson. I wish I hadn't now. but anyway, Stuart's making good use of that 60 millimeter, but 105 is kind of the sweet spot. There's what's called working distance. And so if you have too short of a lens, you have to get too close, and it's more inconvenient. So 100 is a nice round number for a DSLR, but even more expensive ones go up to like 180, which would be even give you more of a blurred background and let you get a little farther away.
I have a question from Walter, Charlie Henry, and then there are a couple of questions coming in on chat as well. So Walter, you're up.
Okay, Ron, you said you used manual focus with your SLR. Did you mean manual exposure? Or?
I meant manual. I use manual everything. Yeah, manual focus and manual exposure. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, having an auto, my 105 has got automatic focus, but you don't need automatic focus for macro work. You really, manual focus is superior for the most part. And the nice thing about, well, I don't know when you want to go into a lot of detail, but depth of field preview is important too, because you want to kind of judge what's going to be in focus and what's out of focus. And on my latest Nikon, it doesn't have the old-fashioned depth of field preview button, which is really a disappointment to me. But then I got to thinking about use live view. And with live view, you actually are superior to using the depth of field preview, because with the depth of field preview, you stop down so the image gets dark. Whereas if you use a live focus, you can actually see and magnify and look at all the depth of field. It's a little more time consuming, but it's more effective. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay, Charlie Henry, you've got a question. You need to unmute yourself by either hitting the space bar or marking the, turning off the mute, Charlie.
I don't have a question, but several people have talked about focus bracketing. And I've had pretty good look outside.
Right.
Not doing individual flowers, but I like to do fields of flowers. And of course, you've got to be in the morning when the wind's non-existent if possible, but I like to do that a lot. And I have had pretty good luck getting, going all the way back through a field or getting a nice mountain in the background or something like that with focus stacking.
Yeah.
Not using macro lenses, which
I've done focus stacking with well, the way focus stacking works in my camera, I use a more recent vintage of a lens, and I use it in the studio with flowers, and it works well, but gee, it's a lot of work. It kind of takes away from the joy of photography, in my opinion. Although
I don't work that hard at it. I mean, I use helicone focus post-processing and things like that because it'll do raw files.
Yeah. And, well, I haven't tried helicone. That might be.
I have a new D90 that has in-camera focus stacking, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, mine's in camera too, but I don't use helicon. I haven't invested in that. I just use Photoshop, and it seemed like quite a bit of work, but it's all on what you want to achieve.
Sure. I'm just saying, I encourage people to try it. You can't have much motion at all. You're absolutely right there. And it doesn't work real up close, but unless you're inside. But for fields of flowers and things, you get a better portrait, I think.
Okay.
So I don't have any other hands up, but there was a chat, a couple of things. Bob Brown had mentioned or a question about whether you use some sort of a black diffuser for backgrounds.
That's a very interesting question. I learned to do wildflower macro photography from an expert that had a workshop out of Mono Lake Committee, and we went up to the Sierra, and he is David Gubernick out of Carmel, and he has a beautiful book he did on the Monterey County wildflowers, just absolutely spectacular. And he's the one that told me how to do backgrounds, and I brought a bunch of colored cloths with me, and kind of cheated in a way, but he uses other flowers as his background. So I did go that route of using various colors for backgrounds, but now I've given up on that and just use nature as a background. But it's worth trying. Good question.
All right. So Ron, I just want to say thank you. It's a fascinating presentation, and your PDF will go out in email to everyone. Okay. Are there any other questions before we have Ron turn the screen back over?
Before you go, here's a question. I just want to add this, that I've got these posted on my website, and the website is really easy. It's just my email address. If you look at that, Laladera, 8 characters, LALADERA.com. And if you go to the bottom of the menu on the left-hand side, I've got these albums posted down there. So if you don't want to try to figure out this URL on the PDF file, you can just go to the website, laladera.com. Okay, so I'm going to get out of my.
Very good, Ron. Thank you.
I need to stop sharing screen. Let me sure if I can do that.
Yeah, it's all done. It's already done, Ron.
Okay, good.
So just a little bit of a review about where we are. We have another brief presentation. Linda Kavanaugh has put together a slideshow and would like to show it and talk a little bit about it. And then a final video that I'd like to share that is part of the introductory or introduction for a new special interest group. It's about a 6-minute video that'll wrap things up. So Linda, are you ready to go ahead and take the screen share?
Yes, I am.
While she's doing that, I discovered something that you may or may not know. When you're in a screen share and you're seeing the document that is being shared, if you move your cursor up to the upper right corner where the gallery and speaker view used to be is a place that will swap the speaker into the window and leave the content at the top. So check that out if it's appropriate, and certainly not during the slideshow. Linda, it's all yours. Linda, you're going to need to unmute again. Linda, can you hear us? We're not hearing anything.
Okay. Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want to do is I'm doing a little travel log on Auschwitz. I went to Eastern Europe for a 3-week trip, and I did a lot of studying about how to approach Auschwitz, the museum, Auschwitz and Birkenau. 2 camps side by side with 3 kilometers in between them. And I found that you had all kinds of tours out of Krakow that included, you know, touring and everything. But in reality, you have to use the guides on the museum property itself. So really, you can just take the local, the bus, nonstop bus that takes you there. It's about an hour and a half. You have to leave really early in the morning, you know, for the best timing. And you know, just take, you know, out of your hotel, just take a taxi to the central bus station. It's very easy, very inexpensive, versus what they call the private tour. Because no matter how many times I approached it a couple months ahead of time, I could not get, you know, just a private tour for the 6 of us that went. So that being said, there's different types of tours, a 2.5-hour general tour, a 3.5-hour general tour of both camps as well. I did a 6-hour study tour, and I wondered, oh, is this going to be too much? But it really wasn't. You're with a specialist guide, and you have access to several different buildings that are not allowed to the general public or on the other tours. And you have a lot more time going through the buildings and the exhibits. The property is huge, so there's a lot of walking. Unfortunately, the day I was there, it was drizzling, and I had to have an umbrella and a little bag, my little raincoat bag, plastic bag over my camera most of the time. And used, because I had to hold the umbrella, a lot of these pictures were taken one-handed. And really, you don't have that much time. You can never set up and change, focus and things like that with your lenses and everything. You have to catch a lot of the pictures on the fly. There is general times where you're allowed to walk around by yourself, which is good if you can come back a second day and then you know what you want to photograph properly. But on the tours, you really don't have that time availability. With the general tours, the shorter tours, you are constantly walking. You don't really get to sit down at the exhibits and watch the videos they have or look at the pictures closely. All along, everywhere, they have information boards, which I'll show you. They'll be in my video. So with that, I can go ahead and start the video. So, Abret macht pret, which means work sets you free. I'm calling it COVID-19 sets you free because now we have free time to do things like this. So these are just some of the pictures of the property with the electric fence. The buildings are beautiful. Here are the information boards that are set up everywhere in 3 different languages. I took pictures of every board. I tried to take pictures so I could look at them and read them later. You don't really have enough time during the tour.
Linda?
Yes.
Is the video running?
Yeah, it is.
We're not seeing it.
Oh no. Okay, now what? Oh dear. You're not seeing it. Okay. I'm on share. Do you see the first picture?
Mm-mm.
The first slide?
No.
Do you see the first slide?
No, we don't see any slides.
What we're seeing are your folders and the documents in there. So if you double click on that Auschwitz.mov, that might help.
Okay, that's where I was, and it's going on. Now do you see it?
No.
No.
Black?
Do you have a separate monitor?
No. Wait. It's in my computer, share. Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing your desktop.
Okay, you're still seeing my desktop. Okay, so let me do this. Let me try going into my desktop. Let me do it from I was doing it from my OneDrive thing, so maybe that's not.
Linda, I have it. You did send it to me, so I could, if this doesn't work, I can take over the screen share and run it.
Okay. And you've got me on screen share, right? Yeah, see, it goes into my OneDrive. Now I click on there, it's not showing.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take over the
you do it, and
screen share.
then because basically most of my talking is done, so you take over it, okay?
You're going to still be able to talk. I'm just going to run it on my screen.
Right, go ahead. Okay. Oh. Okay, you got it. Okay, so Abret macht pret. Are you got it going?
Are you seeing it now?
Okay, wait. No, okay, wait. Okay, I see yours.
Okay. Anyone else seeing it right?
I see it.
We can see it now, Bill.
I can see it.
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay. Abret macht pret. So this stands for work sets you free. That was the entrance gate. And I call it COVID-19 sets you free because we have time to do these things.
Linda, actually it's Arbeit macht frei.
Okay, good. Thank you. And this is the information boards they have everywhere in 3 different languages. So when you're taking pictures, take photos of all these boards because then you can take a look at it afterwards. When you read them. and there's all kinds of information, but you really just don't have the time to set your camera up, you know, to take it properly. And the, you know, people think that it's very morbid and everything, but really you learn so much and you realize what these people went through as survivors. And it's incredible, the stories. And when you're on the 6-hour study tour, the specialist has a lot of stories. She's met a lot of the survivors, or they have met a lot of the survivors, so they have those stories of them, which you have time to speak with her afterwards, especially when you go over to Birkenau. Building to building is quite a bit of distance, 3 kilometers between the 2 camps. And that gives you, you know, a little shuttle bus that takes you for free. And then you take the bus back, you know, to where you can take your bus back into Krakow. The guided tours are essential, I think, to learn everything about camps and so much more than you ever learned in history classes. Did it stop? The movie?
Are people seeing the movie?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Okay.
mine stopped.
Your voice stopped too, but
On
the
the
movie I think has been continuing.
Okay, there we go. So basically, you know, these are just the different pictures. I have a lot of pictures you
get problems.
take a lot of pictures that are going to be like that. They have the everything.
Okay. Wow. We seem to have lost her, Linda's audio. Maybe bandwidth issues on her end.
Those to use for even in making.
You're breaking up, Linda.
Are people still seeing the video? Have we lost that? It's playing on my machine, but not sure what's happening.
Video is fine. The voice is not so good.
The video is okay.
Never mind. Removing and upsetting.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry that didn't work. Okay, there we go. So sorry that didn't work as smoothly as I thought it was going to, but if anyone does want to go through it, they can always email me and I can send it to you over in OneDrive, and then you can look at it properly yourself.
Linda, if you want to put that in a OneDrive with a link, I can send out an email for people to take a look at.
Yeah, I sent it to you earlier. I sent it to you, but you probably had already left for the place.
No, I actually have it. That's what I was playing, so I can do the same thing. I can put it up and put a link to it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Good. Or if anyone wants to go there, you know, feel free to give me a call and I'll tell you all the details that I found out, you know, how to do this so that it's easy. That's it. I'm done.
What are folks seeing at this point?
I see all the participants.
Yeah, I'm seeing everyone, or most of them.
We're seeing your screen, Bill, in gallery mode.
Okay. Are you seeing Ron's flowers now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, the links will be up so that you can see these in higher resolution from Ron's flowers. You'll be receiving this document with the live links in it. And then to wrap things up, I want to talk a little bit about a proposal that's come out of the board. There's been some interest in trying to start a special interest group that would perhaps share some of the photography that they're doing during this time of isolation, whether it's outside or inside the house or anything. And I'm actually going to attempt to show a video. I'm a little concerned about what the sound is going to do. If it doesn't work, we'll stop it and I'll send you a link. But this is a video that was done by a man named Hugh Brownstone, who runs a YouTube channel called 3 Blind Men and an Elephant. And he created he's a street photographer from New York City, and he created a challenge for his audience to send in pictures that represented the current isolation. And he got a bunch of them. This video is going to show a little bit of, it's show quick cuts of the ones that were selected, and then ultimately who the winners were. But what I'm going to want to do is ask to let you, for you to let me know if you're able to hear the soundtrack. If not, I'll let it run till the point he starts talking a lot, and then I can send a link for the rest. But
hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for 3 Blind Men and an Elephant, and today is 350 entries across 40 countries and 6 continents later. It's time to announce the winners of our home photos, or as I think many of us have come to call it, our Making Lemonade from Lemons competition. Every single one of you who entered.
Bill, turn the audio up if you can.
We knew it from the beginning, but you proved us more right than we could have imagined. You turned the spark of an idea that we are all in the COVID-19 pandemic together into a brilliant, creative, heartfelt global reality. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Next, our People's Choice winner. With over 3,000 votes across our Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts, this was a slam dunk. Congratulations to Luis Jaime Suarez Almeida's Take Care of Others. Luis, you gave us an unadorned black and white photograph of a single lonely surgical mask hung out and dried on a rooftop clothesline in Mexico. But you gave us so much more. Your image encapsulated the frightening reality of how little prepared any of us were and remain in the face of this vicious, capricious disease. The scarcity of even the most rudimentary of all protections we can muster. How disproportionately the coronavirus affects the poorest among us, and yet the power and defiance of the human spirit, unbound by geography, socioeconomic status, language, or borders, to carry on. People from around the world saw the power of and resonated with your image. We look forward to seeing more of your work in the future. So thank you, Luis. Your brand new 10.2-inch Apple iPad will be on its way to you shortly. I encourage the rest of us to see more of Luis's work by visiting Instagram and searching for Hijo del Duque. Finally, our grand prize winner, but hold that thought for just a moment because there is a story to tell, and I want to be clear. I don't believe there is any such thing as objectively great art. Objectively great craftsmanship, sure, but art is a relationship between the object of art and the person consuming it, viewing, listening, holding, driving, eating it. It is as much about what the person brings to it as the object itself. The thing of it is, almost from the beginning, Claudia and I realized the grand prize winner was going to come down to one of two photographs. One comes from the US, one comes from Europe. One is somber, one is delightful. One is timeless, one is a perfect representation of the zeitgeist. Yet both are marvels of intent, precision, and intelligence. Both are exceptionally well realized with color, light and shadow, shapes, textures, depth of field, field of view, geometry, and more, all reinforcing each photographer's vision. They brilliantly fulfill our brief to show either the darkness of the pandemic or the light that can shine through that darkness, within the constraints of being at home under lockdown. And both are very personal. Both are about family. Simon Task's In Harm's Way is a photograph of his wife Jennifer and their two children. A doctor just 1 year away from retirement, Jennifer is about to be drafted onto a COVID-19 ward. Everyone in the family knows what this means. No one wants her to go. Everyone is scared. But she will go because that's who she is, it's what she does, and it is what is necessary. Visually, Simon's image reminds us of nothing so much as Dorothy Lang's migrant mother with a little Vermeer thrown in for good measure. Yet it was shot in a bedroom in their UK home. Chris Griffith's Day 267 Working From Home is a meticulously crafted image and very much a family collaboration. Along with his two children and his wife Delana, who just out of frame tripped the shutter, they came up with a good-humored representation of what it's like to live together 24/7 under lockdown in very tight quarters. Visually, Chris's shot strikes us as a kinder, gentler version of Philippe Halsman's Dali Atomicus, with a little Martin Parr added into the mix. Yet it was shot in Chris's tiny home office in Texas. I encourage you to see more of their work by visiting Instagram and searching for @SimonL.Tasker and @ChristopherB. Griffith. Craftsmanship and vision, creativity and vision, extraordinary humanity. Thank you both for giving us these wonderful images. And the grand prize winner is, man, we just can't do it. We can't pick one over the other. But to be more precise, we decided we shouldn't pick one over the other. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tie. Two grand prize winners. Simon, Chris, congratulations to you both.
So I don't know how, I have no idea how you saw that. Was the video, did it work? Could you hear it?
It worked.
The sound didn't, sound wasn't, I don't know if I'm muted or not. I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah, the sound and the video were out of sync.
Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. I'm seeing gallery view. Anybody, can anyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you, or I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can
Looking fine, Bill.
Loud and clear.
Okay, my microphone isn't working. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
I can hear you.
So was the video, could you see it at all? Was it jerky on that fast cut part? Could you hear it?
Yeah,
The
it worked
sound
great.
wasn't as good. It wasn't very loud.
Just post the link. It's a good link.
Yeah, I will do that. I will post a link. And I just wanted to say that next week we are going to move forward. You'll hear some more about a Fourth Tuesday program, and it really will be about sharing some of the work from the current SIGs and having the leaders and some participants do that, and maybe more details about doing something about this photographs in isolation type of idea that we saw in the video. So I will send out.
I think it's a great idea.
So I'll send out information and hope to see you all back online in another week. Thank you so much, and have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for putting us together. Worked for
Yeah,
us.
Bill, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. That was great.
You.
So you can leave the meeting as you go, or I can end it and just kind of shut it down. I think I'm going to do that, and look for the PDF file coming, and then I'll send a link for that video as well. Also for Linda's video too. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.